I recorded this in a previous episode, but while I was here, this tree right here has been dubbed the moon tree. And the reason for that is because the seedling for this tree went to the moon on Apollo 14. It came back on Apollo 14 with the astronauts, and it was given to the state to be planted, and they planted it right here in front of the courthouse. So this very tree right here has been to the moon, something I could only dream about doing.
Be happy. Don't worry, be happy.
Over the history of this channel, and even as early as the day before yesterday, we've talked about the Civil War. Andrew Jackson, his name is all over everything on the state. But a lot of people don't know that Montgomery, Alabama, here where I live, was the main location for the South, where Abraham Lincoln had the White House in Washington, D.C., and President Jefferson Davis had the White House here in Montgomery, Alabama. So today, we're going to tour the first White House of the Confederacy. The first White House of the Confederacy was built in 1835. It wasn't currently on the location where it's sitting right now, though. It was built at the corner of Bibb and Lee Street here in Montgomery, Alabama. But in 1921, well after the Civil War, a group who wanted to preserve the house for as a museum for history, like they have it right now, they moved it to its current location in 1921 and have kept it up ever since. Even though they moved it, though, the house is still exactly 100% the same as it was, with the exception of a few minor changes like electrical and that kind of stuff. Directly when you come in the door, here to the left is several photographs from members of staff, the couch. But the very first room is the president's bedroom. And inside of the president's bedroom, there is Jefferson Davis's sword and a chair. There's this note here that this chair was actually used by Jefferson Davis in his bedroom, in this very room. Some other artifacts used by Jefferson Davis: collar box, there's a suitcase, slippers over here on the top hat box here on the bottom right, suspenders, a briefcase. This here would be the president's bed. They have a portrait here of this White House when President Davis lived here. Directly across from the president's bedroom is the parlor. A lot of time was spent in this room. Everything in here is authentic. The chairs, tables, the artwork, even, of course, they weren't electric in that time. They would have been candle, and they've been converted, but Everything in here was actually in here for Jefferson Davis. Now we'll move over to Mrs. Davis's bedroom. The First Lady's bedroom. It's not as cluttered as that president's.
Don't worry, be happy.
Here's the other side to the parlor. This chair here was a gift to Jefferson Davis. It says it was sent by the South to Jefferson Davis and used by him while imprisoned in Fortress Monroe. And on the table here is the Davis Family Bible.
Trouble, but when you worry, you make it double. Don't worry,
And now we enter the dining room.
be happy. Don't worry, be happy now.
You can see that the parlor, the dining room, this whole side is all one connected area with just dividing walls between them. So on any given day, people would just in and out. You know, this whole area would be full of dignitaries, anybody of importance Jefferson Davis had inside of the White House. And next is the president's study. You can only imagine how much time he spent in here. More than likely, this would have been like his Oval Office. Here's a Senate desk from 1851. On that very table here, Jefferson Davis wrote The Rise and Fall of the Confederate Government. The daughter of General Robert E. Lee had this desk. You can see his bust over there on the top of the desk. I'm not sure if this was included in the first White House, but this grandfather clock was made in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1810. That was 9 years before Alabama even became a state.
Don't worry, be happy. Be happy. Don't worry, be happy.
And now we're upstairs. Here's an upstairs bedroom.
Make it double, don't worry.
Now we're entering the relic room.
Every life we have some trouble, but when you worry, you make it double, don't worry.
And in here, here's a bunch of letters. Those things are hanging in there. Here's a dress, a couple of outfits worn by Maggie. And right next to it were suits worn by Jefferson Davis. There's even an old rifle shoved over here in the corner. A couple more letters hanging back there. Here's the game set up. Backgammon. Some more slippers. It says they were one of the last pairs of shoes worn by Jefferson Davis. And here's this hat. Right next to it here, there's a photo here of the president wearing that hat. There's a hat brush, toothpaste, a brush, and a toothbrush. All used by Jefferson Davis.
Be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Be happy.
A rare silver dipper. It was in a water cooler in the dining room. And this container right here was used for what we would call business cards now. They were called calling cards back then that he could keep in his pocket. This one contains some more documents.
Be happy. Don't worry, be happy now.
A silver bowl that was presented to Jefferson Davis and his wife. And here is the First Lady's nightgown and bonnet. And right below it was Jefferson Davis' personal portable writing desk. I mean, think about it. This thing, this portable desk went everywhere the president went. Wherever he traveled, that went with him. Here is a silver chalice. And this chalice is from which Generals Lee and Stonewall Jackson took communion while at Fort Hamilton. Well, that one silver cup, that one silver chalice, there has a lot of history.
Be happy. Don't worry, be happy.
We're gonna head out of the relic room there, and right next to it is actually a nursery. An old rocking chair and a bassinet and a baby bed. This was clothing actually worn by the Jefferson Davis children. Here behind me is a portrait of Jefferson Davis children. There's also a couple more bedrooms located right next to the nursery. We're gonna walk across the street to the Capitol building.
Every life we have some trouble, but when you worry, you make it double. Don't worry.
The Capitol steps, where Jefferson Davis was inaugurated. And then we arrive to this bronze statue. Jefferson Davis himself. Here on the bottom, right below Jefferson Davis, are all the states that were part of the Confederacy: Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Florida, Mississippi, South Carolina, Tennessee, and North Carolina. And on the opposite side of the Capitol building, we run into this, a monument to the Confederate Armed Forces. And around the banister, it says 1861 to 1865, consecrated to the memory of the Confederate soldiers and seamen. But what's really interesting about this statue is right here on the bottom corner is a time capsule. This cornerstone was laid by Jefferson Davis, President of the Confederate States of America, April 29th, 1886. Inside it is a Confederate flag, documents and papers signed by Jefferson Davis, a jacket that he actually wore, and other artifacts. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that they're gonna open it up. They're gonna pull it out in the year 2035. So they didn't have an Air Force back then, but they had a Navy, which they called seamen, had artillery, who fired cannons and such, riflemen, which would be similar to an infantry, and they had a cavalry. The city of Montgomery is so rich in Civil War history, you can't fit it all into a day or one video. And not only on top of just the city of Montgomery, this entire state is riddled with history of the Civil War. I'm gonna head back to the car now. We've seen the first White House. We've seen Jefferson Davis' time capsule over here. I hope you enjoyed this history lesson on the Civil War and the President of the Confederate States of America, Jefferson Davis. I want to thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great night.
Be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, babe.